Good morning. It's a beautiful morning, blue skies, light streaming through the windows. We may actually have spring this year, maybe. Welcome to the First Religious Society Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport, Massachusetts. My name is Steve Costello, and I'm honored to be your worship associate this morning as we continue our month-long exploration of kindness. The Dalai Lama says that kindness is my religion. As Buddhist teacher Tara Brach says, when we hear that, it resonates because it points to something at the core of all spiritual and humanistic paths. We are also delighted today to welcome Pace McConkey from the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute, who's with us today. Pace McConkey Jr. is a policy and advocacy manager who works to foster a collective movement toward healing and liberation. Pace believes that solidarity is the best medicine, and that as we mobilize together, we can dismantle systems of violence and cultivate a community that celebrates our shared humanity. Now, originally today, Pace was going to be joined by a colleague of his named Elena DiStefano. Now, Elena is a little bit under the weather today, so she couldn't be with us, and she's running the marathon tomorrow. So as Pace said before the service, he said the goal is for her to be able to breathe out of her nose by 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. So today is all about relaxing, keeping her strength up, and eating as much pasta as possible, which sounds pretty good. But Elena is the training and technical assistance manager for the Institute. And in this capacity, she evaluates, measures, and monitors the programs at the Institute. Elena believes that families impacted on both sides of homicide deserve to be treated with dignity and compassion, regardless of the circumstances. So we wish Elena well today and especially tomorrow, and we invite her back anytime. So Pace will be sharing today a bit about the Peace Institute in the service, and then everyone is invited to join us downstairs after the service for soup and salad, and to hear a lot more about the Peace Institute and how you can support their critical mission. We also want to remind everyone about the program that Exploring Elderhood is hosting on April 26th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. entitled Making Decisions When It Matters Most. This program will discuss the importance of advanced care planning and making one's healthcare wishes known through the use of 5 wishes and other planning tools. This Tuesday is National Healthcare Decisions Day to remind all of us of the importance of planning ahead when it comes to your healthcare. You'll find more information about this in the vestibule. If you're joining us for the first time today, welcome. We're very glad to have you here. We come together at FRS online and in person, committed to love, peace, and justice. Our mission and our invitation to all of you is to come as you are, journey together in love, act with courage, transform our world. If you're worshiping online and would like to access this morning's order of service, please click on the link just below the live stream. If you would like a large print order of service or hymnal, please ask an usher and they'll be happy to help you out. I'd like to draw your attention to the many activities and events happening here at the church listed in your order of service. Please be sure to take a few minutes and look those over. Thank you. It's good to be together.
It is indeed good to be together. As I often say, I think we could simply have our worship by just being together, walking around, catching up, meeting new friends, welcoming people back. Anyone here today gets particular extra credit points because not only did we have a beautiful service yesterday in Reverend Helen's honor and memory, but it's really pretty outside. So I want to say thank you for being here both in person and online as we begin to continue our exploration of kindness. This morning, asking the question of what are some of the myths about kindness? What does kindness really mean? What does it look like? And sometimes feel like? And a particular thing that fascinates and interests me, my own thoughts about what is the difference between kindness and being nice. Our call to worship this morning are indeed the words of W. Lomax Childress entitled, "Let Us Be Kind." Let us be kind. The way is long and lonely, and human hearts are asking for this blessing only, that we be kind. We cannot know the grief that people may borrow. We cannot see the souls storm-swept by sorrow, but love can shine upon the way today, tomorrow. Let us be kind. You are faithfully called to worship. And let's rise in body or spirit and join in our opening hymn, which is in the Teal hymnal 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. Be seated.
Please join me in the words of the Chalice Lighting, which are printed in your order of service. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together.
This beautiful gathering of people who are coming and going. That's why the details matter. Julie, come on. Oh my gosh. Well, this is good. It's going to let this really take hold on what's happening. These are members of our team who have participated, and there are many others, in our annual participation in the Mother's Day Walk for Peace that raises funds to benefit the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute, which you'll hear more about from PACE and also downstairs. It's something we've done for a number of years. I think Ann and I were trying to remember, but it's really, I just encourage everyone who is able to participate. It's a moving experience. And I'll be here for those who, for one reason or another, are not able to, but we will be interconnected. Of that, I promise. So we'll turn now to lighting our candles of peace, which we do each Sunday and each time we worship together. There are untold numbers of places on earth that need peace, and each week we face an important and never easy decision about which two we'll lift up in the service. So I invite you to hold these places in your heart today in this service and through the week ahead, and also those places that are holding particularly heavy or dear on your own hearts. The first candle this morning is lit for Boston and its neighborhoods, where there are approximately 1.6 million instances of a person being within earshot of gunfire. Researchers from the Mass General Brigham report that these traumatic ripples that come from that singular experience extend across families and entire communities. Tragically, too often it becomes fatal, and for every homicide victim, there are at least 10 immediate family members directly impacted by that. This doesn't include extended family members, classmates, colleagues, teachers, students, or the families that are impacted in the whole community. Quite frankly, it doesn't include all of us. We know that the toll of gun violence creates an urgent need for the healing resources and the support and programs that the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute offers, and we fully support that work and all that you do. To this we respond, peace, salam, shalom. Our second candle, though brief in words, is large in its intention and reality. Our second candle this morning is lit for the Middle East, where war and violence continues to escalate. And we continue to be committed to peace. Peace across the world. Peace within our hearts and in the world. Peace for all people and an end to war. To this we respond, peace, salam, shalom. Let's rise in body or spirit and join in our affirmation of faith, followed by our doxology. Affirmation of faith. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
Through every I'm glad I got to sit down for a second because those are some serious stairs. Folks, don't always assume that I'm scared of heights because I'm 6'3". Something I battle with every day. No, I'm deeply grateful to be here this morning in Newburyport. And when our friend at the Peace Institute, Ann Hauser, sends the call to drive up north, I always volunteer. I love to visit this town. I love to go walk on Plum Island and commune and meditate and feel present in this beautiful place. I'm grateful for Reverend Rebecca for the invitation and the open doors to myself and to the Peace Institute. And I'm privileged to represent the Lewis D. Brown Peace Institute here today. For those that are unfamiliar with the Peace Institute, we're a nonprofit organization based out of Boston that serves families and communities impacted by homicide, impacted by tragedy, all across the state. So although our building is physically located in Boston, our reach is wide, serving nearly 100 different towns all across the state and 20 different states all across the country. And the U.S. Virgin Islands as well. I learned that one. So we're international now. The Peace Institute was born in 1993 after the loss of Lewis Brown. And I think that history is important because it's an example of when tragedy strikes, how do we respond? Do we respond with hopelessness and with fear, or do we respond with courage and peace? And everything in the Peace Institute we do is grounded in 7 principles of peace, namely love, hope, faith, unity, courage, justice, and forgiveness. And I can imagine that when the Peace Institute was founded by Lewis's family in 1993, that it took every one of those 7 principles of peace to step into power and say, hey, we're going to respond in a way that not only provides care to us, our family, but also all families that experience tragedy in this way. The Peace Institute is a beautiful place. A lot of times when folks come visit our doors for the first time, they're surprised that it's not dark and sad and gloomy. A lot of times folks' first experiences with the Lewis D. Brown Peace Institute is coming to the Mother's Day Walk for Peace, when they join thousands of people in joyous exclamations that peace is possible. And that gathering, I think, really shows that it really is. And that's not just words that we say to encourage ourselves through challenging moments, but it's an honest and authentic belief that peace truly is possible. If we ever question that, we lean on each other to be reminded that peace is possible. And if we're questioning that right now, we invite you to come to the Mother's Day Walk for Peace. And when people ask when it is, I am very happy to say it's on Mother's Day. You'd be surprised how many folks ask, when is the Mother's Day Walk for Peace? But my mother's very happy because I always remember it's Mother's Day because of the walk. I also want to amplify that the Mother's Day Walk for Peace is the largest annual fundraiser for the Peace Institute. This year, I believe our goal is raising $600,000 through the walk. It increases every single year. And this faith group is a large part of that happening. Those funds are special because they go directly to families in the aftermath of loss, rather it be through homicide or through overdose or suicide or other tragedy. The funds that we raise through the walk go directly to those families, helping with burial costs, memorial services, emergency relocation if safety concerns are facing the family, having food on the table and lights in the house. So with every dollar, it truly, truly makes a difference. In my role, I do policy work at the Peace Institute, and I do a lot of work with legislators all across the state. But my background is as a social worker, and that's how I first got connected to the Peace Institute when working at a Boston-based hospital. And I've seen how each one of those dollars truly makes an immense difference in a family's experience in the aftermath of loss and tragedy. And I keep returning back to that. What do we do in that moment? The Peace Institute's built infrastructure so that we know how to respond in those moments. but it is a lifelong journey for us to commit to responding with kindness. I appreciated the prompt in the beginning was there's a difference between being nice and being kind, and what kindness is. And kindness, I think, is sustainable. It's a lifelong commitment and a search for justice and all the 7 principles of peace, both in relationship and towards ourselves. So with that, I'm very excited to be here, and I'm uplifting the work of the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute, talking about the Mother's Day Walk for Peace, which we'll talk about after this initial service a bit more. But leave you with that, and thank you.
Sorry about the stairs there. I wanted to make sure you were, elevated. Let's join now in singing our Children and Youth to Young Church with hymn number 413, Go Now in Peace.
The generosity of our community is an essential ministry that supports the work of the church both in Newburyport and beyond. Each week, 50% of the Sunday offering not designated as a pledge goes to a local community partner engaged in important efforts to transform the region. This morning's collection will benefit the work of the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute. As we've just heard, the Institute serves as a center of healing, teaching, and learning for families and communities impacted by murder, trauma, grief, and loss. To give online, please use the link in your order of service or below the live stream. You can also make a contribution by text, and of course, you can always mail a check to the church as well. Thank you. The offering will now be gratefully received.
This is a time in our service each week where we pause to lift up the joys, the celebrations, the sorrows, and losses of our beloved faith community. Susan Ricker, our Pastoral Care Associate this morning, will be lighting candles as I share what we have been told. So, woman, Cooper, writes, she's lighting a candle of joy in honor of Reverend Helen for many reasons, and because a woman put on an apron for the first time yesterday. Only for Reverend Helen would she do that, and she stuffed over 100 chicken-filled sandwiches. And this took me a moment, woman, but you said everyone lived. For a moment I was thinking, what? But I get it. So we also light a candle of care and concern. Carol Gamble asks that we hold her in our healing thoughts and prayers as she undergoes a fairly extensive back surgery this Wednesday, the 17th, that will require most likely about a 3-month recovery. So I know, Carol, that you're with us online and you'll continue to be in our love and our thoughts and prayers. We also offer a very grateful and uplifting update from Leslie Lawrence and Reverend Stan Barrett. Leslie is improving day by day following surgery for a collapsed lung last week and does expect to be discharged and home hopefully tomorrow. She deeply appreciates the support from her FRS members and friends, including cards and calls, prayers, and loving thoughts. She looks forward to being back in church within a few weeks. We light a candle of love and blessed memory as Lee McLaughlin and Maureen Adams share the sad news that their beloved cat Oliver died unexpectedly last week. Oliver had an, as I said, unexpected and unrealized diagnosis of cancer that became known very suddenly, and so the goodbye was swift. And though they are sad, and will miss him dearly, they are also comforted by their new cat, Moby, who came to them just about a week before Oliver's death. Life has its miracles, doesn't it? We light a candle of joy and celebration for Joanne Kincaid that is submitted by her grandchildren, Jeanette and Douglas Kincaid, as they and we celebrate Joanne's 90th birthday. And we have another beautiful joy to share this morning. Mackenzie and Tyler Rayfeld are overjoyed to share that they welcomed their son, baby George, to the world on March 8th. George is named after George Bailey from the Christmas classic, It's a Wonderful Life. And George's middle name, Toivo, is named after Tyler's papa. They look forward, and we all look forward to George's dedication here on May 19th during our Young Church Sunday. And we light a final candle, as we do each week, for all of the joys and all of the sorrows, all of the concerns and all of the hopes that, although unspoken, are held in just as much love and care. I invite you now into a minute or two of quiet contemplation, centering, breathing, being here with all that is within our bodies, all that is within our hearts, all that resides in our mind, sometimes never ceasing. May we be kind to our bodies, to our hearts, to our minds. Breathing into the beautiful and sacred space that we are sharing together, space of these walls, space of these windows, and equally, if not more important, the space that is between us. In the breath, in the gaze, in the energy, the interconnected sense of knowing that we are one. We are particular, we are unique, and we are one whole. May we be kind to this building, to this space, to the energy between us. Breathing into our connection with the world, with its pain, with its confusion, with its joys, children laughing, running on the beach, daffodils and crocuses coming up once again. May we be kind to this world, to its pain and its sorrow, to its joys and its beauty. May we be kind to ourselves, to one another, and the world. Amen.
Our reading this morning is entitled Gifts for the Robber, as adapted from the book Kindness, a collection of Buddhist wisdom for parents and children. Ryokan is one of the best-loved poets of ancient Japan. He was also a Buddhist monk. He lived as a hermit, all alone in a small mountain hut. A begging bowl, a monk's robe, and a book or two were all he owned. One afternoon, a thief arrived at Ryokan's hut. To the thief's dismay, there was nothing there to steal. Ryokan greeted the thief warmly, saying, "Oh, sir, what kindness! You have traveled a great distance to visit me." The monk grabbed the thief's hand and shook it enthusiastically. "I could never allow you to leave without some show of my hospitality. I must find a gift for you." The monk and the thief looked around the barren hut and saw no gift to give. The thief awkwardly backed up towards the door, trying to take his leave. Then Ryokan brightened with an idea. He began to disrobe quickly. "Ah, I have it. Don't go yet. Here is something for all your trouble. Please, take my clothes. I apologize for such a meager gift. It seems to be all that I can offer right now." The thief, feeling very sheepish indeed, accepted the clothes Ryokan placed in his arms. Wondering if this monk wasn't a bit off his rocker, the thief reached for the door and quickly escaped into the night. "Be sure to visit again soon," Ryokan shouted after him. Then the monk sat down, looked at the mountain ridge outside of his doorway, and watched as the afternoon sun faded and the evening sky began to emerge. Soon, a golden moon slipped above the mountain ridge. He watched a long while as the spectacular moon ascended the sky. "Poor thief," the monk mumbled to himself. "I gave him such worthless things. If only I could have given him this wonderful moon." Then he wrote his most famous haiku poem. "The thief failed to take it, the moonshine at the window."
It's really powerful to know the stories behind things, isn't it? You could read that short piece of poetry and think it was beautiful. And then when you hear the story behind it, it becomes wondrous. So too do we all have stories. Every person we meet has stories. This morning I want to talk about something I call brave kindness. And I use that term for a couple of reasons. First of all, I believe that kindness is one of the bravest things that we can be and do. I believe, like Martin Luther King Jr. felt, and I agree, about forgiveness, that forgiveness is not just an act, but it is an attitude. It is a way of living. So too do I believe that kindness is not relegated to particular acts, but it is a way of living. It's a perspective. And brave kindness is my way of naming that being kind is not for the faint of heart. I think I even said last week, I know I've said before, being skeptical, angry, mad, judgmental, all of that we all do every day, so much easier. So, brave kindness, the power of and the need for kindness always has been, and I say this a lot, but, and so it is true today, the power of and need for kindness these days is real. It is real. Kindness brightens people's days. And it affects lives in ways we may never know. We were just talking about this before the service started. If we do acts of kindness or speak kind words, or if we live in that way and see it only as valid if we know what it did, we will be losing probably 80% of what kindness is about. And I'll just invite us, and then I'll go back to what I wrote down. For a moment, bring to your mind the people who have changed your life by their kindness. Did they know it? Or did you maybe not even know their name, as you'll hear a story about? Or was it a teacher or a neighbor or a relative who you wouldn't know how to find or who may have died? We can't count our kindness like jelly beans. It doesn't work that way. It's a way of living, it's a way of life that we will all do and be imperfectly. So kindness brightens people's days, affects lives in ways we may never know. Kindness knows no boundaries. A person's earning power, or their physical prowess or talent, those things do not determine how kind people are. We all need kindness, all of us, and we all benefit from being kind. I talked about that last week. It's researched, it's science, the benefits to ourselves and what happens within ourselves when others are kind. Everyone needs kindness, even those who think they don't, or act as though it doesn't matter. Bravado and arrogance often cover for pain and insecurity, both of which can stem from a lack of loving kindness. It's important, I think, that we take a couple of minutes and dispel myths about kindness, because these myths or misunderstandings, I believe, lead people to diminish the power of kindness or confuse its intentions. So I'm going to go through a couple of myths and then focus on this one about kindness and being nice. But here are other myths. Kindness is not weak. Kindness is a demonstration of strength. Kindness and being kind does not mean that we look the other way from wrongdoings or social ills, or the state of the world. It does not mean that we absolve people of responsibility for acts of malice. Kindness is not a free pass or an attitude of anything goes. And our partners at the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute, they know that. We've just heard that. They are kind. They are loving. They believe in peace. They are in no way saying that gun violence is okay. So too, being kind is not always synonymous with being nice. And I will say just right up front, of course, you can be kind and nice. So let's put that aside. Don't argue with me. I'm not saying that's not true. But I am saying that there are times, perhaps more than we might want to admit, that they actually are different. And that's where I ask you to allow yourself to consider. So kindness is not always synonymous with being nice. Think about this. Sometimes the kindest things we do or can do don't always feel nice to other people, especially at first. It may take us years to realize that what we thought was someone being harsh or uncaring was actually and ultimately very kind. I know I have quite a list of those times in my life. Now, you may be thinking about tough love right now, and I want to ask us to go a little deeper. Last week, I defined kindness as the act of putting ourselves in another's shoes to try to understand their experience and what they might need or appreciate. This other, as I said, can be a people, a person, an individual, or a people, a group of peoples. It can be four-legged or winged creatures. The other can be a field of grass or a drying riverbed. I want to take it one step further this week and say this. Kindness is when we put ourselves in another's shoes and imagine what they need, want, and deserve to thrive. Thrive. To be kind is to support another in thriving. Plants need oxygen, soil, and sunlight. People need to be safe, to be warm, to be fed. People also need to have autonomy and agency in their own life. They need to be seen and valued for who they are, and they need to belong. And these also are scientifically proven needs. So we are being kind when we support or help to ensure that those needs are met for others. Being nice, on the other hand, often has ulterior motives. Examples of such ulterior motives include things like avoiding conflict. Oh, I don't want to rock the boat. Or trying to ensure that people like us. Or choosing being comfortable over uncomfortable or experiencing discomfort. Here's a simple example. It is kind and nice, both, to bring a casserole to a neighbor or a friend who's just had surgery. It is a loaded casserole, however, and not kind, when we bring that food expecting something in return. Accolades, written thank yous, being sure everyone else knows we did it, being repaid for what we've done. Again, mind you, I am all for thank you notes and returning favors. I am not against those things. However, when it is those things that drive us and our own behavior, it isn't kind, it's being nice. It can be dangerous. It is a setup, first of all, for resentments. So if you want a kind of, I use this as my own little litmus test. If I'm feeling resentful, I generally have an expectation of how something should have been. If I make room in my day or whatever it may be, and I am resentful that that other person doesn't respond in the way I think they should, for me, I'm being nice. This goes back to what I'm saying, that being kind, we have to take care of ourselves. Being a martyr is not being kind. So when we're nice to serve our own ego or appease our own insecurities, we're selling the other person short. People feel that. They may or may not know what they're feeling, but they feel it. When we are being nice, we're selling the relationship short. And we're hurting ourselves. We all do it. Again, I am not pointing fingers, except perhaps to myself. Being continually nice without motives of kindness is exhausting. Exhausting. And people pick up on the difference. So I actually encourage us to be honest with ourselves. We don't have to go confess this. We just need to begin to observe ourselves and ask ourselves questions. Most of us came by being nice, very with understandable reasons, right? It's what we were taught. It's what we were told. So watching our own motives and then finding other ways to get those needs met. Doing for others to quell, again, as our fears, for example, it's not going to work. Whereas having safe and loving people with whom you can share those fears, that works. If being kind is about helping others to thrive, it is also about empowering them, helping them to believe in themselves and take healthy risks. Being kind sometimes, as I just said, can feel at first the opposite to another person. And as I said, it may be days, months, years later, and sometimes it doesn't happen, before a person can actually appreciate the kindness that you gave them. A friend shares with me that the day that her partner told her he could not be her therapist was the day that the rest of her life began. She told me what I thought was rejection was the greatest gift he could have given me. It led me to make choices for myself, to get support, to develop community, to question things I'd been taught that were not helpful or true. Harvard professor and author and happiness researcher Arthur Brooks describes a similar situation in his own life when his then partner, now wife, was bravely kind to him. So you may know him and the work he does at Harvard and this amazing work on happiness, the research and the books and the podcasts and the influence he's having. When Brooks was a child, a very young child, he dreamed of being a world-class musician, playing the French horn. And the talent was there. This wasn't a dream that was unfounded. He was incredibly talented and picked out for that talent. And he dreamed about this world-class musician he was becoming. And it was happening that way until, surprisingly and unusually so, his abilities to play the French horn began to decline in his 20s. That is not usual. That is not customary when you're practicing and having the teachings and all of that kind of thing. However, it was true. He didn't want to see it for himself, understandably. It was too painful. And it took his partner, who loved him dearly and saw what was happening, to be bravely kind and tell him. He said, and this was profound to me, "She taught me I was not a French horn player. I was a person." Clarity is kind. Clarity is kind. Brooks' wife had that clarity and offered it in kindness. There's an important caveat, however, with this kind of kindness that I'm explaining or describing, and that is this, and this is another barometer I use a lot. When I wonder and ask, first of all, I never rush. When I have something like that I'm observing or wondering or questioning or being curious about with a person that I love and know well, and those are important things, particularly knowing someone well, I wait. I do not rush. I have spiritual advisors who I can check myself with because we all have our biases. And I find a way to do it with compassion. Kindness is not mean. We can say what we mean without being mean. And that changes everything. It allows the other person, because they trust you and know you, to hold the possibility, possibly, that what you're saying has merit or truth. Another common motivation for being nice that's different from being kind is looking for acclaim or belonging. A common way of saying that is people-pleasing. We are nice to people because we don't want them to be upset with us, or we're trying to be sure they like us. Here's the thing, folks. When we live according to our values, and I can say this to Unitarian Universalists for sure, we will stand up for things that others will disagree with. And that includes standing up for people when we see them being mistreated or misrepresented. Alan Seal recently shared a story with me and members of the Welcoming Committee about a client and a friend of his, Jane. I should have asked you how to pronounce her last name. Marquette? Malcourt. That. Jane had the honor of being, this is of course a true story that she wrote about in a blog. Jane had the honor of being a source of emotional support for her stepson, Jim. Now, she and Jim's mother had been together at a time, and they are no longer, but at a time when that had to be secretive. Those relationships, particularly in Utah where they lived, could have robbed the biological mother of any kind of relationship with her children. So Jane had sort of a closet relationship with these children, and now years later, she has a very close relationship with Jim, her stepson. Jim now as an adult, had 2 adult twins himself that were transitioning from being male to female. And Jane writes about this in a blog entitled Visible Transitions. She describes all that she learned, including the incredible respect she gained for families and people who make these brave choices. Compassion is kind. Jane was being compassionate and kind. And she writes, and I'll quote this part, "Through my regular lunches with Jim, I had a front row seat to how a father copes with such a significant transition." Jim's children's transition started maybe 3 years ago when she began to have lunch with him. It was not something that Jim and his wife had anticipated in their role of raising children to adulthood. And then she goes on, I'm no longer quoting her, but she writes about sitting with him over lunches over all those years. And during all the years that these transitions took place, she's honest and humble to share her own learnings, including how essential these things are for trans people and how ill-prepared most of us are to support loved ones through this process. Jane shares how Jim and his wife just kept showing up for their adult children, supporting them however possible, including going across the country to be of medical assistance during their surgeries and recoveries. So sometime later, Jim traveled to support one of his daughter's friends as she went through this process because she didn't have that support of her biological family. And with all he and his wife had learned, Jim couldn't bear the thought of a person going through this alone. And he brought this young adult a stuffed bunny after one of her surgeries. She still sleeps with it today. Remember last week I said one of the major 2 reasons we're not kind is we overthink it. We worry it'll be silly. I don't know Jim, but I might imagine he might have thought, a stuffed bunny? I'm going to bring a stuffed bunny at this hugely significant time? And the person sleeps with it till this day. Jane writes, and I'm quoting her again, "By simply showing this person an unexpected act of kindness, he may well have saved her life. Why? He saw her. He heard her. And in so doing, gave her a tangible ray of hope to hold on to." Now I'm on to my own brief vignette about this. So that is put aside, but it is a beautiful blog if you'd like to read it. My stuffed bunny was a nurse's hand during the birth of my first child. People tell you it's painful. I was kind of like a hippie in the wrong generation, so I had nothing helping me except my body. It was painful. And I wanted nothing to do with the father of my child at that moment. Get out. You did this to me. However, the nurse who was there put out her hand, and she held my hand every moment. Her hand was strong and confident. It was warm and reassuring. It didn't flinch or pull away, no matter how hard I squeezed. She got me through that birth. I never knew her name. I never saw her again. So as I asked earlier, what's your story, or just one of them? What is your stuffed bunny or stranger's hand? When was someone kind and brave in their support of you? All of this requires people we trust and community. Ideally, we have, as I said earlier, trusted spiritual advisors, whether professionally, family, or friends, people who can be honest with us and know our blind spots. None of us are going to be perfect at this. That's not the goal. However, the kindness that we offer when we choose to support another in thriving in their lives, that kindness has untold promise and potential. So, my friends, may we be kind to ourselves, to others, and to the natural world. May we pause and notice long enough to know, or at least imagine, what another needs to thrive. And may we help them experience the moon, because that's what we all need. Amen. We're going to shift into our closing hymn different. For one thing, we're going to remain seated, and it's actually a meditation, though we'll be singing. It's a song of hope, written by a Unitarian Universalist songwriter named Sarah Dan. It's 1009 in your hymnal. I want to share a little as you're finding it about what Sarah says about this. She says she wrote this song just after 9/11. And she wrote, and I quote, "I was so filled with despair, and I needed to channel that into hope. And this song has taken on a life of its own ever since. It was sung at a student vigil after the Virginia Tech shootings. It's been sung at rallies, camps, General Assembly, and by youth groups." She says, "Folks tell me they use it to sing their kids to sleep. They use it in meditation and hospice choirs. And," she writes with some levity, "it's even been used by a couple who had just bought 2 pygmy goats. And the goats were very unsettled as they were being driven to their new home. So the couple turned around and began to sing this song, and the goats immediately calmed down." Sarah says that's why she can legitimately say that this song is multi-species. So again, let's remain seated as we sing through this a few times, and Justin's going to show us how.
All right. Can I have this side of the room? You're going to sing this. Breathe in, breathe out. Okay? We'll get to that. On this side, we're going to sing, when I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. Can we give that a shot? When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. And the choir has something to do as well. So we've got to get ourselves into this space. So breathe with me. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love.
That beautiful meditation, by the way, is an intervention we can use when we know we are about to act unkind. We can pause. We can breathe in peace. We can breathe out love. Even if the best we can do in that moment is say nothing. That's love, too, in those situations. So let's rise in body or in spirit to join together in our unison benediction as Steve extinguishes the chalice. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. Again, everyone is invited who can stay to join us for soup and salad and bread and to learn more about the Peace Institute downstairs immediately following this service. But for the moment, my friends, let's just take one final breath in this space, and I actually invite you to open your hands, your palms, let go. You may want to hold them down by your side or even just at your waist. May you breathe in peace. May you breathe out love. May you choose kindness to yourself, others, and the world. Remembering that kindness is asking ourselves what we need, what other people need, what the natural world needs to thrive, and asking ourselves what we can do to support that happening. Kindness is clear. Kindness is compassionate. Kindness is brave. Kindness never needs to be mean. Say what we mean in love. May we all go in peace, my friends, have beautiful days and weeks, and may we return again in great joy. Amen, and blessed be.